The question for today: why do you think single women tend to misguide others in relationships, therefore leading to breakups? Alright, let's cut through the polite nonsense and get right into it. First, I have to call out the question itself because it's loaded with a massive, glaring bias. The premise that single women are the ones who tend to misguide others is a cop-out. It's a way for someone, probably a guy who just got his heart broken, to externalize the blame entirely. Breakups are a team sport. It takes two. But since we are to focus on the woman's role, and we must be real, I will proceed, but please remember this is what I think, not everyone. So, I'll frame it this way. It's less about misguiding, with malicious intent, and more about a catastrophic failure of communication and self-awareness, driven by immense social pressure. So, let's break down why it feels like women are misleading men, and why, to be fair, they are sometimes more susceptible to being misled themselves. 1. The performance of happiness versus the reality of settling. This is the big one. Society hammers women with a ticking clock narrative, biological, social, you name it. The pressure to be in a coupled-up, Instagram-perfect relationship by a certain age is immense. So what happens? A woman might meet a guy who is fine. He's adequate. He checks a lot of the right boxes on paper. Good job. Nice, stable. But the spark? The deep, visceral connection? It's not really there. Instead of acknowledging this and moving on, which is the harder but honest choice, she often goes into performance mode. She convinces herself first that he's the one. Then she convinces her friends, her family, and him. She posts the pictures, she plans the future, she says, "I love you," because it feels like what she's supposed to do at this stage. She isn't actively thinking, "I'm going to mislead this guy." She's thinking, maybe this is as good as it gets. Maybe love isn't a wildfire. It's a slow-burning ember. But it's a lie. And that lie has an expiration date. 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, the resentment builds. The lack of a genuine connection becomes a chasm. She feels trapped in a life she built on a foundation of good enough. Then she blows it up. And from the guy's perspective, it comes out of nowhere. Everything was perfect. She said she was happy. He feels misled because he was misled. But she was also misleading herself. She sold him a dream she wasn't even bought into. 2. The vulnerability paradox. Women are culturally conditioned to be caregivers and nurturers. This often translates into an inability to set hard, ruthless boundaries early on. Here's the brutal truth. Women are often easy to mislead because they are taught to be polite, to give chances, and to see the potential in a man rather than the reality. A guy love bombs her. Instead of seeing it as the red flag it often is, she's taught to see it as romance. A guy says he's not sure what he wants. She hears, "I can change his mind with my love and support." He's emotionally unavailable. She sees a wounded bird she can fix. She gets misled by potential. She falls for the project, not the person. And in doing so, she misleads the man into believing his behavior is acceptable. She doesn't give him the brutal feedback he desperately needs. Your effort is pathetic. Your communication is weak. Your life is a mess, and I'm not here to be your mommy therapist. By not being brutally honest early, she allows the relationship to develop on a false premise, guaranteeing a more dramatic and painful breakup later. 3. The past hurts baggage. Everyone has baggage. But there's a specific pattern where a woman who has been deeply hurt, cheated on, lied to, abandoned, will enter a new relationship with a landmine of unstated rules. The new guy isn't just dating her. He's auditioning to be the anti-ex. He does something completely innocent that vaguely reminds her of a past trauma, and he gets his head bitten off. He didn't mislead her. He's being punished for the sins of another man. The problem is, she often doesn't communicate this. The rule book is hidden, and he's expected to just magically know it. She's protecting herself, but in doing so, she's creating a rigged game that he is destined to lose, making him feel misled and confused when it all falls apart. 4. The "I can handle it" fallacy. This is a cousin to the vulnerability issue. A woman will often see a man's flaws clearly. Maybe he's a party guy, maybe he's flaky with money, maybe he has a temper. And she'll think, "I'm strong. I can handle that." So, she dismisses the flaw and commits. But you can't handle a fundamental character mismatch forever. Eventually, it grinds you down. The thing she thought was a quirk becomes a nightmare. She thought she was signing up for a project she could manage, but she was actually signing up for a core part of his personality that will never change. She misled him by accepting something she knew, deep down, she could never truly live with. So, the brutal summary? It's not that women are inherently deceitful. It's that they are operating under a set of immense social pressures and conditioned behaviors that lead to catastrophic communication failures. Asterisk, they mislead by performing happiness to meet a timeline. Asterisk, they get misled because they're taught to prioritize a man's potential over his reality. Asterisk, they create confusion by not setting hard boundaries early out of a desire to be nice. Asterisk, they invite disaster by thinking they can handle a fundamental flaw. The solution isn't to blame women. It's to demand more radical honesty from everyone. Women need to be brutally honest with themselves first about what they truly want and what they will and will not accept. And that honesty needs to be communicated early and often to their partners, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not nice. That's the only way to stop the cycle of feeling misled and misleading others. Stop performing. Start being real, even if it means being alone for a while. Because a lonely truth is always better than a beautiful lie that eventually explodes.